we have a panel discussion whose topic is how can schools contribute to employability skills amongst its learners. A very thought-provoking topic, I must say, because we are always talking about skill-based education, but how much is within the purview of a school, or whether you should at all do it or not, whether you should worry about skill-based education or not, because the child who is entering the school will go to the job market possibly 15-20 years after that. So how responsible is school and how responsible are teachers, and how can schools contribute to the employability skills? So I'm delighted that Sujata Sen has kindly agreed to chair this very, very important and thought-provoking panel discussion this morning. Thank you, Sujata once again. And I take this opportunity now to introduce to you today's panelists and incidentally the facilitators for the reflection day as well. We first invite Mr. Arunav Singh. He is Director Innovation, Nehru World School, Ghaziabad. Mrs. Vandana Lulla, Director, Podar International School, Mumbai. We have Moushami Banerjee, which many of you know, is Principal of Adamus World School, Kolkata. And we have Debolina Chanda. She has several feathers on her hat, so that's why she wants to be referred as independent consultant. So thank you all of you. Shadari, I request you to take the stage. And over to you.
So I'd like to welcome the panelists to this panel discussion. And it's an interesting topic because usually we talk about employability skills from the higher education stage. How can colleges and universities have courses that can contribute to employability skills? And now we are bringing it down to the school level. So how can schools contribute to the employability skills? And I'd like to ask each one of the panelists, first of all, what they think are important employability skills at the schools level that need to be stressed on, and how can the school contribute? So, first of all.
Good morning, I'm Debolina, to those who don't know me yet. I think with the changes that we face globally and in the job market, we have, obviously we cannot focus on just the academic knowledge or skills any longer, but what is in demand, what we have, as we have all discussed through the various workshops we've done, is that the other skills, especially the core skills that we are talking about, of leadership, of being able to think critically, to solve any problem that comes their way, to think imaginatively, creatively, all these are very, very important in today's world in taking them to be employable. I mean, as one has said, to be employed is risky, but if you are employable, you are secure. So how do we get our students to be employable is probably, I feel, through these core skills.
Yes, everything is changing. I mean, if I even reflect back 5 years back, what we needed to teach children today is changing. Everything is so computerized, the IT skills is so important. And it is not that once they leave school, they will acquire all this, and higher education will give them those skills which are going to be employable. I just read in the Times of India on 3rd February, in Gurgaon there was a session with principals, heads of institutions, management staff, and the employers, that is the corporate world. And there was a discussion as to what the children need to be. How are they being employable? Of course, we know about the leadership skill, the management skill, the literacy, numeracy, but what came up over there is the stress tolerance. Are we teaching that in school? It's so important. The peer sensitivity. because today they feel that somehow I'm to be a team member. And I can cite an example that there was one IITian person who had fantastic records, had got a top level job, but could not sustain it more than 6 months because was not a team member and could not fulfill the skills he needed to adhere to that job. Today it's changing, and I don't think that once they're 18 years of age they can acquire all that. So schools today need to imbibe all that from the stage they come in, that is 3+ or 5+, whichever the entry level is, and slowly build on it. So by the time they leave school, they have these qualities in them which will help them to grow further. And I think core skill is one thing which needs to be embedded right from the beginning of their journey in school.
Thank you, Moshini. Vandana?
A very good morning to all of you, and it's amazing to see the same very familiar faces that we had way back in December. And some of you said, I don't know how time has flown, and it's fair. And I'm back again. Yeah, good morning to all of you. For me, I think when I look at core skills and I look back at my schooling and my times, it was so different. And now the kind of expectations that the whole world is changing. And if you know that any organization that is competing in this global world is not looking at employees who can just do what they are told. There's nobody to tell them the kind of targets, the kind of goals. If you look at the simple example of Toyota cars, and if you read their case study, they talk about how you can make future cars, how you can improve the quality of the cars. So the people who are employed there need to go further, need to think further. If you look at IBM case study, and if you look at the people that they employ, they look at how people can network with other people around the world and how they can work as teams, and they may be employees in different parts of the globe, and how you can connect with them not only intellectually but also culturally. So it's very, very important for schools to make sure that, connecting and making sure that we break the limitations of the boundaries. How do we create that kind of a community? How do we develop those kind of skills that are required in the future organizations? I think we are preparing our children for tomorrow, the world that we don't know what the expectations would be. So I think that's the big challenge, and I'm glad that we've started making some initiatives and with association with British Council, and I think that today we are going to see some very, very exciting, energetic plans that you have got with us, and we look forward to them. So I think the core skills are the most important skills that we need to develop in the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you, Vandana. Aruna?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As the lone male representative on this stage, I would certainly have, I'm glad that I'm getting to speak. For education is dominated, and rightly so, by women. And I can clearly see this in the room as well.
You will get an extra minute.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I speak for the mankind. To me, being employable is not just being employable for somebody else. It is to be in a job, and that could be for somebody else, that could be for yourself. Over the past 6 months, I have been involved in recruitment of a UI designer, that is a user interface designer, a UX designer, which is a user experience designer, a website designer, a movie maker, And one thing that I've noticed in their CVs is, they are not talking about which college did they do this from. They're sending out their portfolios. In a way they're saying, this is my skill. Do you want it or do you not want it? It is no more just about which college did I go to. Well, agreed, if you've made it to an IIT or if you've made it to an AIMS or a government medical college, chances are that you would succeed in life. But for a lot of people now, the world is not going to change tomorrow. I think it has already changed. That movement has already happened. And that child who is enrolling with us in nursery right now will hit the job market in 20 years, in 2 decades. 2 decades back, there was no internet. There weren't even remote controls to television. This world has already shifted, so we're not talking about something that will happen that we need to prepare for. The change has happened. So the value of these core skills is present, it is now. It is as relevant for a child who's in grade 12 with us, and it is as relevant for the child who's starting school this year. So employability would become a very, very basic need that we need to cater to as these children grow up. And now that I would use that extra 1 minute, already jobs that are boring or repetitive are going from the humans. That is starting to happen. If the job is boring and if it is repetitive, it will not exist. There will be a cheaper machine that will very soon take that job from the human. So if I have to remain important in the job world, my skill set needs to be such that a machine will not replicate it, at least not easily. I'm really glad that we're having this discussion. I hope that this would become a change maker, because our country of 1.2 billion, or probably slightly more, just after I said this, we certainly need to be ready for the changes here. Thank you.
Thank you. So all of you have set the tone for the absolute necessity for core skills now in schools today. But my question to, again, each one of you in the panelists, where is the time and space for just adding on another extra strand? You've got a huge amount to cover in the curriculum. You've got a limited number of periods, 40 periods or 36 periods or whatever. You've got your holidays, you've got extra holidays in West Bengal sometimes. You know, you've got just a limited amount of time. And how do you then add on these core skills into the curriculum or into the skills of the students? How do you add on something else? Digital literacy, how do you add on something else? And I know there is so much of pressure from different organizations and the market coming to schools for doing different kinds of workshops. So how do you actually include this in the, as well as also carry on the demands of the curriculum?
This really is my pet topic. I mean, for all of you where we have done the workshop together, you will remember that all I would be talking about is, please do not look at core skills as an extra period. Please do not do that. It is not a co-curricular activity. Yes, we have a syllabus. Yes, academic knowledge is very, very important. We have to finish the syllabus. We have to get the good grades. But within that, we have to incorporate these core skills within that very subject, within that very syllabus or curriculum that we are talking about. Now yes, as Sujata said, we have finite time, we have finite energy. How do we go about it? And we have 40 plus students in each of our classes. Impossible. It is not really impossible. Yes, it calls for a certain amount of extra work for all of us teachers. primarily because that is not how we have been taught to teach. We were told, this is the textbook, this is the subject matter, go tell them, which is already there in the textbook, and the job is done. And you prepare a question paper, and exams are over, and correcting the exercise books are a huge bugbear. But if we start thinking differently of how do we teach the same subject matter along with the core skill, it becomes really very easy. And what we really are looking at today and over this entire Connecting Classrooms program is how have you managed to incorporate the core skills within your curriculum. Not have a separate, I have taught them how to think critically and not done Julius Caesar as a result of it. That cannot happen. So thinking innovatively, teaching innovatively, assessing very, very innovatively, I think are the three key things which all of us as teachers and educators have to do.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think I'll take you through this journey of what Deborina said, but I think in trying to do this, we all face a barrier. And one is the parents. The other is that some of you are only trained in this. What about my other colleagues? If we have to bring this change in the school, everybody has to be in sync with each other, and that is important. And getting the parents on board. If we don't get them to know what we are doing, they will say that you have not done any written work, you have not given them adequate work. I mean, what are you teaching? The child does not take anything back. And I'll just take you through a journey of the formatives that we do in the CBSE curriculum is exactly what this is. You take up a topic and you do all the other subjects, and then that is your assessment, that is your rubrics, And what you have to judge over there is, as teachers, that from here, how will the skill go to another level? And it is an ongoing process. We cannot do anything in seclusion. And I think over here, we need to talk to parents that this is happening because of a shift, because I have experienced, my school is situated in Barashat, which is the outskirts of Kolkata, and parents have come and told me that, but ma'am, why aren't you giving any maths homework? We used to do this 20 sums a day, and that's why here we are. And I had to actually tell that things have changed. They are where they had done their schooling maybe 20, 30 years back. But the paradigm shift which has taken, they are not aware. And who's going to bring them onto this journey? That's us. So I think that's very important that we have parents' orientation and tell them to be there, because we cannot teach core skills in seclusion. It has to be embedded in the curriculum with the help of teachers and parents. And also it's very, very important to upgrade the knowledge of teachers, make teachers aware that what is happening, because if they are not in sync with your thought process, they cannot take the challenge further and do what we are expecting. They will still go into the classrooms and teach exactly in the way that they have been taught to teach, or they've been doing this for years. I think we all need this reorientation. Yesterday only, there was a question paper which was being discussed, and I overheard, it was a West Bengal chemistry paper, and this gentleman was asking what is wrong in it. So he said, and I was quite alarmed to hear this, we are in 2016, and he said that this is the exact question paper that we did when we were in school. And this gentleman is 50 years old, and nothing has changed. But in CBSE, there are thought-provoking questions which are giving. The child needs to think and write. I think we need to shift out from there and make our questioning pattern and our activity-based learning more innovative, so that skills will be implemented without their knowledge, and when they leave out, you'll see that how easily they have learned. Thank you.
So for me, I think most teachers in this room, I'm sure, in some context, do relate to what we are speaking. However, it's very important, like the panelists talked about engaging students. And I think the biggest challenge that we have in our classrooms is how do I engage students? And I say it is so simple to make sure that how do you engage students and how do you not have a separate period or do something apart from what you're teaching. And I say while you're teaching, how do you integrate these core skills into your curriculum, into your day-to-day teaching, is put just one question: what if? If you use ahead of every question, every concept, every topic, what if and why, you will let the child think. And I think the biggest challenge that we as teaching fraternity have is basically ask the question, don't give a waiting time, answer the question. Because we are so much in a hurry that we don't let them think. However, I think it's very, very simple to integrate these core skills into the curriculum. And I must share with you that, digital literacy. Just this morning, Arijit talked about Twitter and said that this part of the world, there are not many people who tweet. And I tell you, it's just about moving away from what we are really doing. Now, it's not that this part of the world doesn't communicate, right? But the mode of communication has changed. So we need to adapt to that mode. Just we need to shift. So like the panelists said, you don't need to put something separate. You just need to change a bit. You need to tweak it a little bit. And I'm sure it is very, very simple to integrate. I mean, Twitter, Prezi was talking about blogs. You see, children write fantastic blogs. And it's so simple. Simple resource. Forget digital literacy. Simple resource in your classroom can be newspaper. I mean, this morning when I lifted the newspaper, there's so much that I can do in my language classes, or even in my science classes, or in my maths classes, to develop the core skills. Just using the simple newspaper as a simple resource to develop the core skills. So I think it's all about asking them to interpret the same article, to analyze, to try to find out, to evaluate. And there you get them thinking. And believe me, once we start this journey, children won't stop. They'll just go ahead. They'll push us behind and they'll move ahead. So I think that's very simple to integrate these core curriculums into the core skills into the curriculum. That's the need of the hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rura. Do I still get an extra minute? So if the question is, where is the time? I think there is a question behind this. And that question is, do we teach or do we ensure that children learn? Do we teach? Or is the focus on ensuring that our children learn? It's like saying I taught this entire class how to fly a fighter jet today. And the colleague says, well, they didn't learn. And you reply, I didn't say they learned. I just said I taught. This skill of learning to learn, I would very well feel that this is also part of the core skill gamut. We are living in a world where the concept of flipped classrooms has already arrived. And in fact, this is not a new concept that is now being thrown from the West towards us. Forever, we've been trying to tell our children read what I will teach you tomorrow at home and you will understand better. I think all of us have tried to say this to our children. Read before you come to the classroom, you will understand better. Your brain would have processed how you do not know or what you could not understand, and when I'm teaching you, you will totally get it. Which is very similar to the concept of flipped classroom that has been doing rounds over the last 5 years, where there is a website called the Khan Academy. They, I think, came up with the word flipped classroom first. So they've taken what we would have done in the classroom to home. And Khan Academy still stays a free platform. So does ck12.org. And there are many, many others where the content engagement has happened at home in the evening before the lesson. Now when my children are sitting, and now this is easier said than done, if I can, they're doing my homework. I give them homework every day, they come back, do my homework, because I check it. So all that I really need to do is to ensure that the child would do this engagement before the classroom. And if I've been able to do that, so take my cue from what Dr. Lola was talking about, where she says we need to engage this child. Our competition is 500 television channels, our competition is that smartphone that all of you have, our competition is PSP, it is Xbox, it is not DD1. Your teacher's competition was DD1. It was Shanti and it was Chitrahar in the evening. Not anymore. So this engagement has to happen at home. If we can ensure that happening, we would get to that to that stage of discussing in the classroom, and I think we would have adequate room in the classroom for a lot of core skills integration and ensuring that our children learn, and we might not even need to teach for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Listening to you, of course, I have another question now coming to my mind. When you take the curriculum in the school, assessment is relatively a known and simpler process. You know, you've got a history exam, you know whether the student has answered or whatever, and you give marks. How do you assess and evaluate that the students have learned core skills? Yeah? What is the process of monitoring and evaluating that? And if possible, I would like each of the panel members to give me some case studies through your experience of how you have actually evaluated that the students have learned core skills in your school or in your classroom. Aruna, I'll go to you first.
Thank you. Can I break this answer into two? My understanding of assessment and then one example of how we use core skills. So, assessment and examination are two very different things. And if I could just take an example of, say, languages, because all of what we're teaching to children is very brief, like at the start divided into literacy and numeracy, that is your language and your mathematics. And now language can be further subdivided into LSRW, that's listening, speaking, reading and writing. And we all know that to acquire any language, you would first start to listen. Any child starts to understand some basic instruction, then speak, say a few words. When it is Papa, Papa is very happy because mother is putting in all the hard work and the child says Papa. So it's listening, speaking, then is reading, then the child starts recognition, and then eventually comes writing. And from the first class onward, we only test writing. We take an exam and we test writing. We test writing, we test writing, and we keep testing writing. And we keep telling the child, you need to write better, you need to write better, you need to write better, while the focus actually needs to start from, you need to listen, then you will speak, then you will read, and then you will write. So there are many things which are wrong right now in the way in which we are assessing. I don't have all the right answers, but I think I have a couple of very relevant questions. And this being one of them. That our assessment pattern need to change in a way that we can still standardize it, replicate it for our big numbers, but at the same time keep it valid for the child. One example that I remember very well, and I had worked like absolutely amazingly. There was a program done by British Council called Unbox 21. In Unbox 21, you had made schools look at professional video games, commercial video games, as vehicles of teaching science to middle school students. We happened to be one of the schools that engaged in that process. And there was a game that a science teacher had picked up called Missionarium. Missionarium is a free game available online. And it has a robot, and this robot is trying to free up some girls, so the theme is very much like Mario. But in Missionarium, this robot has to solve basic science-based puzzles in order to go to the next stage. So kids played these video games, and at the end of, so we had done a lot of physics, a lot of chemistry through that video game. And these children were now supposed to make their projects. You know, the group projects or the individual projects, a lot of CBSE schools get students to make them. So students made these projects, and interestingly, none of the projects that we received back had come from the project shop. No science shop had figured there. Because we've been able to engage these children and develop their skills of understanding what we're really talking about, we were able to make them apply those concepts. So if they needed to go access the internet for it, if they needed to work together, if they needed to think, if they had to create a crane from a disassembled car, they had figured it out. Putting core skills in the center and developing an assessment system around it is certainly more difficult than our current system, because our current system is convenient. The blueprint is already there. But it is not an impossible task, and it does work. Thank you. This time I didn't take that from you.
Yeah, I think you should give him a big hand of applause. People are waiting to do that. Okay. I don't know why, we as a country or we as schools, finally lay so much stress on examination and evaluation and assessment. And I think that, the very fact that now CBSE board has started some journey about changing their assessments to formative assessments, and ICSE board is doing that, and there are a lot of changes that are coming into this country. Hopefully in the days to come, the methods and the assessment strategies will change completely. However, if we have to assess the core skills, I think it's very, very simple. Once you initiate and integrate core skills into the curriculum, you need to design the right kind of rubrics. And I think that if you have the right kind of rubrics, supposing I'm teaching maths or bio or physics, while I'm teaching, I'm actually making sure that through my rubrics, very clearly stated on what are the expectations using the skills, whether it's communication skills or whether it's teamwork skills. How do you really make the children aware of the expectation and then use rubrics to clearly evaluate those? So supposing I'm teaching a concept or teaching a subject, and then I expect some kind of graphic organizers or mind maps or something to see there, or I am doing an oral assignment trying to evaluate communication skills. I can easily make a rubric saying what are the areas that you need to have and evaluate clearly. Another way is portfolios. and I think that's the easy way out to evaluate. And then also, I feel that most important is reflections. Core skills can be easily evaluated with your reflections. What went right for me as a child, and what didn't go right, and what are the areas that I need to improve. And if I'm teaching in a class and I'm putting, the first thing is to change the infrastructure arrangement. When I say infrastructure arrangement, is to put children in various groups, initiate your topic, your subject, have rubrics, have clear idea of what's happening, then you are observing and you're writing. Okay, I'm interacting, somebody else is not interacting, somebody else is not allowing somebody to interact, not giving an opportunity, so you're making those little notes. And I think, and the feedback that you have, the reflection that you have, is easy method to actually assess any core skill that you are looking at, whether it's digital literacy, or whether it's critical thinking, or it is creativity and imagination. Even when we give short exemplars to students, a little case studies to students, you'll see how they would come up with their own assessments. You can have peer assessments. That's more simpler, more easier, and you can actually get to understand how and where have they reached to achieve those skills, and then build on from there to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Vandana said it all. It's very important to have the rubrics. Even when you are starting a class and you've got your lesson plan and where you've already initiated the core skills which you are planning to do, if you're taking up an English lesson or a maths lesson and you've got, and when you are doing that, you just keep a sheet and it's like from the unknown to the known. So how are you getting the responses from the students? If you are throwing a question, what are they doing? That's your assessment also. Core skill, you don't have to do it differently. While you're teaching only, you can understand, and then you can also feel those who are not responding. And if you're doing a group work, over there also it's very important for the, we call, it's no more teachers, we are facilitators. So over there, how are we engaging each child into it? Because in a group you'll see there'll be two who will not be involved. But it is important, if we are assessing core skill, each and every child needs to be involved. I was in a school in Guwahati where I was the principal, and we have the FA4s, and for class 10 the examination is there. So what do we do? So I started with this was just an idea which I floated and it went very well. We had a program called Vibrations, and the class 10s at that particular year had to pick the regions of India and they had to work on it. So when we did that, each group was involved in the dress, so they had to work on the history, the map, that is the geography part where it is correlated, and as well as the costume which they were wearing, there was a lot of metal involved. So in that particular project, all the subjects were involved and they had to go on stage and speak. So the communication skill was also there. The critical thinking was there because it was still not, I hadn't done the course, but they had to think beyond because there was a competition, because the sense of excellence has to be embedded, and that is the core for assessment. Why do we assess? To know who's the best, right? Why are results still important in India? To know that, okay, you are 98%. But we have to instill this in each and every child, that what is excellence and how well you can achieve that. I think then the assessment process will be easier and we really know who's good and everybody will come up to that level.
I think taking on from everything that they've said, how do I get the student who I have to be an equal partner in wanting to excel. I will assess one, but then I want him to excel. That is why we are, or improve. That is why we are going to assess that have you improved or not from your past performance level. The way I think we have to move forward is to give that knowledge to the student. We have decided here, sitting here, that core skills is important. We have decided this is how we are going to embed it into the curriculum. We have decided that it is important for you and this is what you need. How does that student know? Why should he or she buy into your idea if he has no clue what's going on? So I have thought of one project, one way in which I'm going to assess the student on, yes, the content, the academic content as well as the core skill, but the student is clueless as to why the teacher is asking me to do this and it has not bought into your plan at all, is not wanting to, is not really moving the way you want them to move. So telling them that look, these are the skills that you need. Yes, you need to know English, your second language, your maths, your physics, chemistry, everything. All that is important. You need to get these grades. Along with these grades, you need to get these in order, because at the end of, yes, school and then college, you will write out your CV. But then if I don't let that child live that CV while he is in school and college, he is not going to really be able to do a good enough job of projecting himself on that CV. So where does he trial all this? The trialing has to happen within school and within college. Here, school. So then how do we, the programs that we develop for the students has to be such that this is something he's going to use later on in life. And then our assessment of that. To take on from what Sujata said, an example of where assessment has been used, very typically, play, put up a skit, and instead of judging on, the core skill parameters, I judge on costume, I judge on dialogue delivery, I judge on who has acted the best, where that is not really either my academic content, neither is it the core skill. Instead, I heard of this example from a teacher who had done this, that the students kept coming to him and saying, "Sir, we don't want to do, Hindi teacher, we don't want to do class today, please let us go play, let us go down for sports." And this happened for a while. None of the students were interested in doing Hindi. So he said, "Okay, I'll let you go down for sports, but I have a condition. When you are playing," they wanted to play football, it was a boys' school. "When you are playing football, 2 students at a time have to give a 3-minute commentary each on what's going on the play." So Hindi period is happening in the sports ground, they're playing football, but 2 students at a time come up and give a running commentary on the game that is being played. Look at the core content matter, so he can assess them on language, he can assess them on if it is related to a topic that he's studying at that point of time maybe. Core skills, communication, critical thinking, student leadership, personality development, every possible thing. So if we just think differently about how do we want them to learn, I think we should be able to cover the entire gamut of learning, getting them to learn as well as assessing them in the manner that they need to, that we're looking for.
Thank you. That's a lot of good. And I think from here we can easily move on to the day of reflection. And I'd like to thank all the panelists for their thoughts. And I know all of you here will empathize with what they have said. And may I now hand over proceedings to Arijit once again.